The stars were quiet that night. For the first time in centuries, the imperial capital of Zalare burned, not from bombardment or rebellion, but from celebration. Emperor Ziran IX stood on the grand balcony of the Spire of Ascendancy, the twin moons glimmering against his ceremonial armor. Around him, 1,000,000 alien voices chanted in rhythmic triumph, echoing through the canyons of glass and steel. They were celebrating what they called the cleansing of the lesser species. Among those lesser beings were humans. In the long stretch of the Terran expansion wars, humanity had clawed its way from the ashes of a dying Earth, colonizing worlds the Empire claimed by divine right. They were bold, stubborn, undisciplined, traits that Ziran despised. Yet even he had to admit they were dangerous. When humans lost, they did not surrender. When they won, they buried their dead before they celebrated. That, he thought, made them terrifying. But now, after decades of conflict, it was over. The last Terran colony in the Argoth sector had fallen 3 days ago. The broadcasts had already spread throughout the Empire. Images of burned human ships, shattered domes, and smoldering cities. And at the center of it all, one command: purge every remnant. The order had come directly from Ziran himself. "Your Majesty," hissed Vizier Krothtal, bowing deeply as his chitinous limbs clicked against the marble floor. "The purge reports are complete. Total casualties: approximately 8.4 million. Among them, 5,731 juvenile humans." The Emperor turned, eyes cold. "Children?" "Yes, my lord," Krothtal said carefully. "Our troops claim they were uncooperative." Ziran's jaw twitched. "Humans are never cooperative." He waved a hand dismissively. "It is of no consequence. Their defiance dies with them." But somewhere deep within, a faint ripple of unease stirred. He had seen those broadcasts too, the human children staring at the sky as fire rained down, one of them clutching a broken flag of blue and green. The camera feed had cut before impact, but the image lingered. 2 weeks later, the Empire returned to routine. The fleets were recalled, the war industries shifted to reconstruction, and the propaganda machine turned the slaughter into spectacle. But then the whispers began. First, the mining colony on Voss 3 reported the sudden failure of every comms satellite. Then, the outer patrol fleet along the Sargon Fringe vanished without a trace. At first, Ziran's admirals dismissed it as human guerrillas, scattered survivors hiding among asteroid fields. But the scale was too vast, too coordinated. Entire sectors went dark. A single transmission broke through the silence. A human voice, female, soft but resolute. "We are still here." The message repeated on every frequency, in every known language, across 100 systems simultaneously. Then it stopped. "Impossible," hissed Krothtal, slamming a clawed fist onto the holotable. "We verified total eradication. There are no surviving human fleets." "Then who sent it?" Ziran asked, leaning forward, his crimson eyes narrowing. "Perhaps an AI echo," said one of the strategists. "An automated distress protocol." Ziran considered that. The humans had relied heavily on adaptive AIs, but none should have survived the data purges. Unless they let the Empire think they had destroyed everything. The Emperor stood, the light of the holomap painting his armor in spectral hues. "Begin full-spectrum surveillance. I want every sector scanned. No shadow escapes our sight." The Ghost Fleet. A month passed. Then came the first confirmed encounter. The Imperial destroyer Zaratha's Claw was patrolling the Hellion Rim when its sensors detected a faint energy signature. Old Terran tech, but heavily modified. Before they could investigate, the ship's own weapons turned against it. Seconds later, Zaratha's claw was gone. The recording showed only static, then a single word burned into the feed. Witness. The human resurgence began not with armies, but with whispers. Civilians reported hearing human transmissions in their sleep, coded messages hidden in broadcast waves. Engineers found their machines behaving strangely, as if haunted. Even the Emperor's own palace security systems glitched for a full minute one night, just long enough for the Imperial banners to be replaced with the old Earth insignia, a white circle around a blue sphere. The message beneath it was simple. You killed our children. Now listen. Inside the Emperor's war room. This is psychological warfare, said Admiral Theric, his spines quivering with restrained anger. Humans are masters of manipulation. They intend to break our morale before they strike. Zirin's expression darkened. Let them try. They will learn that the will of the Empire cannot be broken. But as he spoke, the main holoscreen flickered. For a moment, everyone in the room froze. The display shifted to a live feed of a barren, ash-covered planet, the one once known as New Berlin, the site of the massacre of the 5,731 children. Then a voice, calm and haunting, filled the chamber. We counted every name. A list began scrolling across the display. Thousands of names, each human, each paired with a birth year and the word terminated. Theric's voice cracked. How did they breach our system? Krothtel shouted. Shut it down. Now. But the system would not obey. It played until the last name appeared. Then everything went black. Finally, a single word remained, burning white against the void. Judgment. The Emperor said nothing for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Send the fleets to the soul expanse. Burn every rock. Every remnant. But, my lord, do it. The command shattered whatever restraint the Council had. Within hours, 200 Imperial ships departed for the sector once home to humanity. They found nothing. No colonies, no fleets, just silence. But as they prepared to return, one of the ships detected an anomaly, a massive object emerging from beyond the system's edge. The crew watched in disbelief as an ancient Terran dreadnought drifted into view. The hull was scarred, the markings faded, but the name was unmistakable. Tis's Vengeance of Dawn. It was a ship thought lost 2 centuries ago, during the First War. And yet it was alive. Receiving transmission, reported the comms officer, trembling. A hologram appeared on the bridge. A human woman, scarred but serene. Her eyes carried centuries of pain. Emperor Zirin, she said. We remember. Then the transmission cut, and the dreadnought opened fire. The Vengeance of Dawn tore through the Imperial fleet with surgical precision. Every missile found its mark. Every countermeasure failed. Within 17 minutes, 200 ships, an entire battle group were gone. The dreadnought transmitted one final signal before vanishing into slipspace. For the 5,731, the word spreads. News of the destruction reached the capital within hours. Panic rippled through the empire. For the first time in generations, the Zalran people spoke in hushed tones about the return of humans. Zirin convened the High Command in secret. How could one Terran ship destroy 200 of ours? He demanded. Admiral Theric's mandibles clicked nervously. The humans used ancient technology, but it has evolved. Biodigital weaponry, adaptive hulls, predictive targeting systems. It's as if their ship could think faster than ours. Krothtal added. And they're not fighting for conquest. They're fighting for memory. The Emperor's claws curled into fists. Then let them drown in it. But deep within him, fear began to bloom. Humans had once been underestimated, and that mistake had ended empires before. The signal. That night, as Ziran stood before the grand window of his throne room, he saw the stars flicker, not in the way of dying light but like a pattern. He called for the system monitors, but they were already scrambling. "My Emperor," one of them gasped. "The entire galactic network is being hijacked. Every screen, every beacon, every projection across 1,000 worlds lit up. A single message appeared, burned into the skies, translated into every known tongue. The Empire murdered 5,731 of our children. We do not ask for mercy. We bring consequence." And beneath it, the humans' response to the Emperor's crime. One word only. The message faded, leaving silence behind. The Emperor stared into the void, waiting for what came next. The Emperor did not sleep. He stood alone in the darkened throne room, the stars beyond the glass casting faint blue light across his armor. That word, the one he had seen moments before the screens went dark, seared into his mind. Remember. It was not a threat. It was not vengeance. It was worse. It was truth. The Emperor's fear. The next morning, the palace awoke to chaos. Dozens of Imperial systems had gone offline. Entire data vaults were wiped. Factories shut down, military archives erased. The humans hadn't launched fleets, they had launched a memory. Every database now showed images of the murdered children. Their faces appeared on propaganda screens, military dashboards, even the Emperor's personal holodisplay. The Empire's citizens were forced to look, forced to remember. No one could escape it. The Empire's mighty propaganda machine, once its strongest weapon, was turned against itself. For the first time in history, the Zalran people saw what their Emperor had done. "Your Majesty," stammered Vizier Krothtal, his voice shaking. "We've contained half the systems, but the other half refuse Imperial control. There are riots. Soldiers are refusing to fire." Ziran turned on him, rage burning beneath the surface. "Then remind them who rules them." But Krothtal didn't move. His 4 eyes shimmered with something unfamiliar, fear. "My Emperor," he said quietly, "the people have seen the truth. They ask why we slaughtered the defenseless. Why we burned children." The Emperor's claws tightened. "Because they were human. Because mercy to them means extinction for us." But even as he shouted, he knew it was a lie. Humanity's greatest crime had never been aggression. It had been refusal to kneel. The human return. Hours later, the first Terran fleet arrived. They emerged from slipspace like shadows breaking the night. The vengeance of dawn led them, flanked by hundreds of smaller ships, some ancient, others newly forged. Every vessel bore the same insignia, a blue-white earth encircled by 7 stars. And beneath it, in bold letters, "We remember." Admiral Therak, watching from orbit, was speechless. "These ships. They're impossible," he whispered. "They're alive." The Terran ships pulsed with bioluminescent veins, their hulls grown rather than built. They moved in perfect coordination, no visible communication, like extensions of one living being. "Contact them," Therak barked. But before any hail could be sent, the humans broadcasted first. A voice filled every Imperial channel, male this time, strong, steady, and cold. "You took 5,731 children. We took your silence. Now, Emperor Ziran, we return it to you." Then the attack began. The war for memory. The skies above Zalare became a storm of light. The Terran fleet did not fight for conquest. They fought for precision. They avoided civilian sectors, targeting only military installations, communications, and imperial power grids. Every strike was calculated. Every explosion illuminated the night like a heartbeat of justice. The Emperor's forces tried to respond, but their targeting systems failed. The human AIs had infiltrated them. Imperial ships found their engines reversing, their guns locking, their shields collapsing. Within an hour, the once invincible Imperial Armada was falling from the sky. And then, amidst the chaos, the vengeance of dawn descended through the atmosphere. It came directly for the Imperial Palace. The meeting. The palace trembled as the massive dreadnought hovered above it, casting its shadow over the spire. The Emperor's guards stood ready, though their hands shook. Then a single drop pod detached, slamming into the courtyard. The metal hissed as it opened, revealing a lone human figure. She stepped forward, the same woman who had spoken through the hologram. Her armor was matte black, her face scarred, her eyes unyielding. No army followed her. She didn't need one. The Emperor descended the steps, flanked by soldiers. "You dare invade my world," he hissed. "You dare stand before me, murderer of billions." She looked at him with an expression that wasn't anger. It was sorrow. "I dare," she said, "because you murdered children and called it victory." Zirin's claws clenched. They were enemies of the Empire. "They were children," she repeated softly. "And for that you will not die in war. You will live in memory." Before he could respond, the woman activated a small sphere. Light burst outward, rippling across the palace. Instantly, holographic projections filled the air. Images of every atrocity committed under Zirin's reign. Every massacre, every burned colony, every name. Billions of Imperial citizens watched as their emperor's crimes were revealed. The woman's voice echoed through the system. "We do not conquer. We do not forgive. We remember. And now, so will you." The collapse of an empire took 3 days. The Zalran Empire fell not by blade or bomb, but by truth. The Emperor's armies laid down their arms. Planet after planet declared independence. The name Zirin became synonymous with shame. The Terran fleet did not occupy, did not enslave. They simply erased the symbols of tyranny and left the worlds to govern themselves. Before departing, the human commander broadcasted one final transmission. "To every species who watches, we are not gods nor monsters. We are the consequence of cruelty. We are humanity, and we remember." Then the fleet vanished into the stars. The last scene. The Emperor sat alone in the ruins of his throne room. No servants, no guards, no admirals. Only the echo of his own guilt. He looked up at the shattered dome, the stars beyond still shining. For the first time he saw them not as conquests, but as graves. A faint noise echoed from the corner. A small hollow projector activated, showing the image of a little human girl, one of the 5,731. She looked no older than 7. She smiled softly. "Do you remember me?" The Emperor fell to his knees, trembling. I do." The hologram flickered once more before fading, leaving only darkness. And in that darkness, Emperor Zirin IX finally understood the meaning of the word that had haunted him. Remember. Because to remember was to suffer. And humanity had made sure he would never forget. End.